Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Let me start with a slightly provocative statement. Workforce location strategy has never been this important. And why do I say this? Because companies today must find the right talent, deliver efficiency improvements at the same time, prepare for AI-driven workflows, which are likely to disrupt a lot of status quo, and still deal with a lot of changing dynamics on the geopolitical and macroeconomic front. And location choices sit at the heart of all of these challenges. We'll delve into some of these aspects in today's webinar, but first, let's take a stock of which of these factors are most important for you as an organization. We'll begin today with a poll for our attendees. And I listed a variety of factors which shape location strategy. Many of them have emerged in importance over the last few years, but we'd really like to know from you on out of these factors, what would you rank as the most important factor which is going to shape your location strategy for the next 5 years? Please rank them in the order of importance and let us know which of these factors are likely to have the highest emphasis as you plan for changes in your workforce delivery footprint across different geographies.
And Prashant, I think it's a very timely question. Historically, we have seen that talent availability and cost, they have always been the dominant drivers in location strategy. But in recent years, and you started your conversation with that we are seeing geopolitical risk, regulatory environment, even AI-driven workforce shifts, they are taking much prominent role. What we are seeing is increasingly organizations are rebalancing the traditional factors with these newer considerations as well to build a very future-ready location strategy. So I'm very excited with what we see in the poll results.
Okay, and we've started seeing some poll results trickle in. Once we are done, we'll let you know once we close this. As expected, I think there's a lot of focus on how the workforce models change due to AI efficiencies. More than a third of the respondents have indicated that this would be the number one driving factor. The number two driving factor is coming out to be availability of advanced skills. Of course, that's very important. As you navigate the changes, you need the right talent to do so. And then we've got costs, macroeconomic risks, and regulatory, almost equal, but less than a third of the votes compared to the top two factors, right? So clearly, I think it is about how AI impacts workflows. What impact does it have on where you source talent and where do you get this advanced niche skill talent? So it is completely in line with what we are seeing some of our large global clients think and reshape their location strategy as. Okay. Well, moving on, I know we saw a lot of these parameters come up in importance. We will delve into each of these parameters one by one, and Gunjan will walk us through some of these aspects.
Sure. Thanks, Prashant. So I think we have already seen the impact of parameters or the importance of parameters from the audience itself. But let's just see how these parameters have evolved over time. While talent availability, cost of operations, business operating environment, these remain the fundamental parameters which organizations look at while selecting the right fit locations. But there are certain parameters that were traditionally more important for role of a location in the overall portfolio. So when deciding a role of location in the overall portfolio, I'll say the parameters were more static previously. We would identify what will be the role of that location in the overall portfolio, whether it will be a hub location, whether it will be a spoke or a satellite location, what will be the delivery model, whether it will be via vendor or a captive or a GCC. choosing whether the location is able to deliver the language requirements or the time zone overlaps or regulatory environment. While these were more static, today the parameters are more dynamic in nature. And these parameters, I'm not saying that these will lose their importance, but then there are additional parameters above these that organizations should definitely consider. I think one, we have already seen through the poll that organizations are expecting impact of AI on their overall location strategy. We expect AI to bring changes to overall delivery pyramids, their shoring mix, and some of it is already in action. Apart from that, concentration risk is one of the parameters that we have been hearing come up again and again. Organizations need to think about, are they over relying on a particular location? Because given rapid changes in the overall environment in terms of geopolitics and macroeconomic as well, one needs to be sure that they are not over relying or over concentrating on a particular location. If we move to the next slide, we can see how the global services market has changed over the years and what are some of the drivers behind the trend. Now, towards the left, if you see, we have posted how the growth rate of global services headcount has changed over the years. Now, this is for offshore nearshore headcount. You see, 2021 we had double-digit growth in the overall headcount, and this was largely due to post-COVID growth that the market saw, the resumption of the projects that were paused during COVID. But after that, the market has sort of stabilized, moving towards less than 5% of the overall growth rate to what we see right now. And two key drivers behind this slowdown, we have been talking about them. This has been the theme of our today's session. They are macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainties across all the regions, plus declining enterprises spend, and efficiencies for which organizations are already planning to that will be brought in by AI in the future. But apart from that, there are also some of the growth drivers that are leading to this 1 to 3% growth in 2025. So, offshore nearshore locations are the key beneficiaries leading to this growth, providing the relevant talent at much lower costs. Plus, we have also seen accelerated center setup momentum by global capability centers or GCCs or GBSs.
Yeah, I think Gunjan, that's a great point. Um, I think it'll be unfair to paint the market in one broad brush with this 1 to 3% growth. We do see green shoots, we do see high growth rates in particular area. GCCs is one area which you mentioned. And there is more of a trend of insourcing by many organizations these days, right? In fact, for GCCs, or you may call them GICs, GBSs, shared service centers, in-house centers, people call them by different names. But we are seeing a 3 to 4x growth compared to outsourcing headcount. Now, a lot of that, as Gunjan mentioned, is driven by first-time entrants, but even the existing GCCs seem to double down on their growth plans, and that continues to materially drive the talent market. Apart from GCCs, of course, other areas such as mid-markets, which is when we look outside North America and Europe, especially when we look at Asia, Japan, Middle East and Africa, these continue to see high growth areas. And of course, even the types of clients. So while large enterprise segment, there is a bit of a slowdown or a focus on more efficiency, it's the mid-market players, many of them who are discovering global services or outsourcing or GCCs for the first time, which are driving a lot of this momentum going forward. So different nuances by different industries, I'd say, different sizes, and of course, where you are in the stage of your global services adoption.
Thanks, Prashray, for adding that. Now, definitely there are growth drivers, but the weightage of the slowdown, the drivers leading to slowdown is comparatively higher. And as you see here, the uncertainty is not constrained to any particular region, but it's largely spread across most of the regions that we see. There are different types of uncertainties in terms of geopolitics, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which started back in 2022. Then we have Israel, Iran, and other conflicts in the Middle Eastern region, India, Pakistan, Thailand, Cambodia, and others in the Asia Pacific region. Apart from that, multiple macroeconomic uncertainties, including recent US policy changes, rising inflation in Egypt, in Europe, we have Turkey, Argentina, and others, plus persistent safety security challenges across certain geographies in Latam and Middle East, South Africa. So, bottom line is the it's not constrained in any particular region. Now, we see that one of the questions that we got during India-Pakistan conflict was organizations have significant headcount in India. India accounts for roughly 30% of the overall global services headcount, right? And if we, on the next slide, we have yeah. On the next slide, we see that the percentage headcount of different organizations in India has significantly increased in the last 5 years. If you see both Big Fours and global providers that have seen 12 to 16 percentage point rise in the last 5 years. And even enterprises, they have 8 to 12%. While these are for leading organizations, there are some of the enterprises that have close to 20 to 30 headcount in India in a captive model as well. But this shows that the concentration in India is rising for most of the organizations. And this is one of the critical agenda that organizations are thinking about today. And like I said, this was one of the questions that we received repetitively during India-Pakistan conflict as well.
Yeah.
Now,
And thanks, Gunjan. I think this is quite powerful data because we hear from all of our clients, no matter whether they use outsourcing partners, whether they use GCCs, of course, they want to focus on talent availability, costs, but concentration risk has been a boardroom agenda for many years. Despite that, we see them doubling on the same traditional locations, which in this case, I think you're showing the data for India concentration, right? So it is surprising the percentage of share which is just there in one location. Of course, it becomes difficult to beat the talent and cost proposition, but then you have your global risk committees which start to raise a red flag at some of these concerns, right? But interesting data, Gunjan. Back to you.
thanks, Rashtra. Now, I think past few slides were sufficient to help you understand that BCP is not just a one-time thing for now, and organizations need to stay on top of it and continuously refine it. Here we have listed some of the components that organizations can look at while refining their overall BCP playbook. For example, we saw that there are different types of risks that are spread across the regions. There are geopolitical, macroeconomic. So organizations should have different playbooks for each type of risks. It is not like one size will fit all. Plus, a continuous monitoring of the risks to be better prepared for the future will be the key. We have also seen some of the organizations setting up a dedicated team, even chief risk officers to manage or to stay on top of what's happening across the regions. Secondly, hybrid work considerations help you plan continuity during any event. For example, during India-Pakistan conflict as well, we see organizations quickly moved towards hybrid work environment, leading to no disruption in the overall continuity. Apart from that, not all the processes are time critical. So organizations can plan on which processes like banking operations that need to be critical and should have a backup plan and should be brought online at that point in time, while there can be some of the operations which can come back online later in terms of any uncertainty. Apart from that, organizations should plan on different locations across different shores. There should be a healthy mix of onshore versus offshore versus nearshore of locations. Plus, the same should be for vendors as well to be ready in case of any uncertainties. Lastly, again, like I said, it should be a continuous activity and not a one-time playbook sort of thing. You should always mark yourself with the industry, what is happening across in the industry, and be ready for the future planning.
And well, BCP is nothing new for organizations' playbook, right? But perhaps the importance and the criticality has increased given some of the increasing risks. So I do have a question to you, Gunjan, or maybe Sumit, this is for you. I know you've worked a lot with clients on risk diversification and BCP. Are some of these risk concerns fundamentally changing location strategy and footprints, or is this something which is only thought of in a BCP kind of a way? For an if an event happens, what do we do then? Or is this causing them to fundamentally change their as is location footprint as well?
That's a great question, Prashray, and one we hear from the clients quite often. They want to know how this translates into meaningful work placement strategy in general. Gunjan was talking about a few pointers, so I'm taking cues from there. We actually started seeing some shift happening during the recent India-Pakistan tensions as well. Because India, the concentration was so high on the previous page, we already saw the numbers. And clients started realizing the risks of having high concentration of delivery in India for select work streams. Since then, diversification and building robustness in terms of business continuity plans have become very critical consideration before awarding work to, let's say, your GCCs or even providers. That said, even today, talent availability and cost, they remain the two most important and dominant drivers. And India and Philippines will continue to stay well ahead on both the fronts. Looking forward, however, AI will increasingly take a center stage. It will influence not just delivery model, but also the way organizations will start thinking about their location and workforce strategies at an overall level. Okay, then let's move to the next. Actually, when we start talking about so much of location workforce, I think it's also important that our attendees get something out of today's webinar. And for today's webinar, we have a one-on-one demo of Talent Genius platform. This is Everest Group's AI-powered insights platform for location and workforce decisions. Talent Genius is a purpose built for IT and business process services. It enables you to assess lots of cities and countries across talent, cost, risk, attrition, and much more via intuitive dashboards. So our offer is that first 15 attendees who request for this will get exclusive access for a demo with our SMEs. And to request a demo, just click the link in the chat or use the click here button. And yeah, let's make some smarter location and smarter and data-driven location workforce decisions. Okay, with that, moving to the next section, which is we have been talking a lot, but starting with that particular section now. So what's the impact of AI on the broader location strategy? Before diving into the lots of details, let's look at a journey first, which is on the next page. Let me take you some time to walk you through how the global services delivery has evolved over the past few decades and where it is heading next. Starting with 1980s, the story started with outsourcing shared services. The big trigger there was adoption of ERP systems, and the primary value was operational excellence, as in standardizing your processes, driving efficiencies within firms. Then we moved into the 2000s. We entered into the offshoring era, where Y2K played a critical role as the trigger, pushing organizations to look for large-scale delivery, cost-effective talent-based delivery outside their home markets. And the dominant value driver was labor arbitrage, which was finding skilled talent at lower cost in offshore destination, because the talent cost play has been very good in offshore destinations. Fast forward to 2010s, digital became the defining theme. With cloud technologies, firms started shifting their focus from just scale and cost to efficiency, effectiveness, and ultimately improving the end user experience. Now, this was the period that saw digital delivery becoming core to transformation. Now, as we move to mid 2020s, we are entering what we call the era of reinvention. The trigger here is the rise of AI and systems of execution. The value proposition is very different from the past decades. It's no longer about efficiency. It's no longer about arbitrage only. Instead, it's about creating delivery models that are autonomous, frictionless, and proactive, where tasks can be completed and decisions are made with least amount of or minimal human intervention. And what this means for firms is that location decisions will no longer be driven only by scale and cost, but increasingly by skills and adaptability, the ability to build resilient, future-ready delivery models that can reinvent themselves as technology and business needs evolve. Now, this was something that we wanted to walk you through the 4 different decades option that we had. But on the next page, what we start talking about is where AI is really taking us ahead. So global services organizations are approaching a true inflection point driven by radical advancements, primarily in AI. And from this point, we see 3 possible paths forward. The first path is the one that we are seeing at the top, is the path of reinvention. This is where organizations move beyond labor arbitrage as the primary model and redesign themselves around AI first operating model. There are many firms which are trying to adopt this path. It's a bold path, disruptive and potentially transformative as well, but it is also the most challenging to execute. The second path is more a path of evolution. Here, firms combine AI with your traditional labor arbitrage models, and they do it in a very synergistic way. This means letting AI take over more of repetitive tasks, while human talent focuses more on higher and revenue-driven activities. For many organizations, this may prove to be the most pragmatic approach, and many organizations are thinking to move into the evolution path. But there is also a third path, which is a traditional path, where some companies will choose to largely maintain the status quo right now, and they experiment with AI, they experiment with few ad hoc AI initiatives. It's a safer option in the short term, but there is a risk. There is a risk that these type of organizations may fall behind as AI adoption accelerates. So the key takeaway from this page would be that every organization will have to make a choice. Do they reinvent themselves? Do they evolve? Or do they want to stay traditional? And that choice will define their competitiveness going forward in the years ahead.
Yeah. Sumit, great point. I think this is not just about business strategy. I mean, this framework could be applied to business strategy as well. But today we are talking about the operating model or the workforce design, right? And this is equally true for workforce design as well, because to enable that future business strategy, achieve those business outcomes, you need to have the right workforce and global delivery models in place, right? So I think amazing point here. To all our attendees, I think that'll be an important question to ponder where you are on this journey and which path is your organization choosing.
That's fair, Prashray. And that's what the next page also takes it deeper to a level where we start thinking in terms of let's unpacking it at what this inflection point really means for the different types of delivery models. So the first, we have divided this into 3 parts, but the first part is more around the skill requirements. Now, as AI, we were talking about, takes some of these routine tasks, repetitive tasks, transactional tasks, the demand will shift towards skills like data literacy, problem solving, domain expertise, and ethical governance as well. So instead of repetitive tasks, firms will increasingly need talent that can interpret, govern, and guide those AI systems. The second is around shifting delivery pyramids. With AI reducing reliance on large pool of junior or entry level talent, organizations may start depending much more on mid and senior level professionals. These will be the people who bring some amount of your domain knowledge, judgment, ability to supervise, and enable these AI-led processes. And the third is AI will push a rebalance in your overall shoring strategy. When I say shoring strategy, a mix of offshore, which is the likes of primarily India, Philippines, your nearshore, which can be your Europe market or Latin America for US, and then the onshore, which are the source markets. Now, as more repetitive work gets automated, the traditional offshore arbitrage model might also undergo some rebalancing with some tilt back towards nearshore and onshore hiring. In short, AI is not just a technology shift, it's going to change what skills we need, how organizations are structuring around this, how your pyramids are shifting accordingly, and where the work gets done in terms of your locations. With this thought, let's move to the next page. Okay, interesting. Again, we have one poll question similar to what the poll that initially Prashra started with. So the question is that we have talked a lot about AI, but have you started to redesign your location strategy to prepare for this era of AI? And again, we understand that it might be at you are at different levels. So you may be already implementing those changes in your location portfolio, or you might be in the planning stages, but not yet started to implement. You may have thought about it, but not planned yet. And you can be even you're not considering any major location changes. You expect everything to remain the same as a status quo. So we want to hear from the attendees, where do you believe you are in your journey of redesigning your location strategy in this era of AI?
Yeah, and this is across all types of employees which you have, right? In your headquarter locations, in your GCCs or in-house centers, your vendor portfolio as well. I mean, an integrated workforce strategy is across all of these components. And when you look at redesigning it, you'll have to look at all of these components together. We earlier talked about a lot of factors, and well, AI came out as the top factor which is driving changes in location strategy, but there are other changes as well, some due to regulations, some due to talent availability. Have you started to drastically redesign your location strategy, or are you adopting more the wait and watch approach? Is what we want to find out through this question.
A very interesting thought, Pressure, and maybe you would want to take the
Yes.
results as well. But this is something I believe even you would have been expecting as the result. So
Yeah.
mhm.
No, Sumit, please go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe around 60 percentage plus audience attendees have marked option 2 and 3, which is they're either in the planning stages but not started to implement, and some are in thought about it but not planned it. Very close split of this 60 percentage plus, which is where even pressure we are seeing many of the clients in this one. But what's your thoughts and reactions to this one? Where are you seeing clients, given your conversations on this in this particular front? Where do you see most of your client conversation hinges? Is it option 2, 3, or you believe option 1 and 4 are the more common ones in your conversations?
Yeah, good point. I think all of the leaders we speak to are aware about what this entails. There is nobody for whom this will be a big surprise that once AI-emitted workflows become common and become BAU, it will cause a change in workforce strategy. So awareness, I think we're seeing in all clients. It's about the actions associated. A lot of the clients are definitely in that wait and watch mode. Some are doing minor incremental work, which is, I think, what the middle options also indicated. Very few have started significant changes to their global workforce strategy, right? I was surprised with some saying that they haven't planned for it yet, because at least through most of our major clients, planning has started, if not implementation. So that was surprising. But anyway, I think this is a great data, great output to have. Hopefully, when you were polling and giving your results, this also showed to you where your peers were in terms of their readiness and their change as well. So we'll move on to the next section, which is about what do these AI changes really mean? And when we talk about that workflows are changing in this new AI embedded era, we are saying that it's causing fundamental changes to the way in which we are thinking about jobs, skills, shoring strategy, and pyramids, right? We'll take it one by one. As jobs are changing, and that's become a big discussion topics, right? That will there be a job apocalypse? Will the nature of jobs change entirely to something which we haven't seen in the past, right? Yes, there are some roles, category one roles, which we call out here, which will become highly disrupted because of AI. Most of these are highly repeatable, routine, rules-based work. A lot of this will get disrupted by AI. Then there are job types, category two, which is AI augmented or AI assisted, right? As we see in category three as well. These are roles where AI has, with the AI and humans in loop, it is causing a different expectations of what these jobs will entail. Some of the work which is augmented or assisted by AI is deterministic, but still variable. There is some knowledge-based judgment. Uh, it does have structure and pattern where AI can do a value add, but still it has enough context, experience, uh, or engagement required where humans are essential as well. And of course, then we've got a whole new category of jobs, category four, which will be net new roles, which we haven't seen in the past. These roles are roles which are generated now due to the new workflows, right? A lot of this is about orchestrating AI models, oversight of AI models, ensuring how AI and humans work together to achieve the best outcomes and outputs for clients. So, different types of roles. Uh, what is very important is organizations need to be very aware about which of their existing roles fits in what categories. They'll have to plan strategies around this as well. It's very important that we keep talent at the heart of this. It's our job to make sure that the talent is aware about how their role is likely to be impacted by AI. So, for example, the roles which we had listed under AI disruption. Here, the strategy which we see clients adopt is slowly work to phase out routine tasks, but redeploy this talent into how they can move into more validation of AI outputs. Where we are seeing the AI augment and assist parts or the oversight parts, that is about reskilling the talent. How can they work better with AI tools? What are the tools available? Uh, it's about improving the prompting skills. What aspects of oversight does AI need? Where exactly can the humans add more context? How they can enhance compliance, reduce risk, and improve the customer trust. So these are areas where a lot of focus needs to go on by the organizations into identifying where current job categories lie and then working with the talent so that we can reskill and upskill them to be more successful in the future. And of course, there's this entire new roles category. You will have to think about these new roles. You will have to hire and train for these new roles. You'll have to create entirely new certifications, career paths, because these are emerging specialities. Without these governance, moderator kind of roles, it'll be very difficult to work in this new age. As we move on to the next page, what we see is that not only is the type of roles getting impacted, it is what goes within each role which is impacted as well. Here we've taken just one example, a contact center agent example. Uh, of course, in the workflow and work processes of the future, agents will no longer just require limited technical or limited analytical skills. Of course, when the AI in the mix does a lot of these tasks, shares better analytics, is able to provide more information, data, uh, and is able to prompt a lot more to the agent as well. The agent will need higher technical skills to work with these AI tools. They'll need better analytical and problem solving skills because they'll be managing more complex, more multi channel interactions. And at the end of the day, this is about the human agents then focusing on skills which matter more. Uh, these would be skills, and we say this quite paradoxically, the more you integrate AI, the more important human skills will be. Uh, in fact, LinkedIn when LinkedIn did its research for top skills in 2025, two of the top three skills were about adaptability and AI literacy. What we mean by AI literacy is not the ability to create codes and make these LLMs. It is about familiarity with the AI tools out there and adaptability, because we see that the shelf life of many skills, especially tech skills, is now less than 2 years. It's about adaptability to new tools, new requirements. So these are emerging as top skills. uh, Organizations will have to think through on what impact this has on training. I mean, no longer can we just have one and done trainings, right? Trainings will have to be continuous because technology keeps improving and changing. Uh, and training then is now more contextualized because now AI helps in training, in hiring as well. It's more contextual, it's on the job as well. So, net, I think big shifts coming to the way in which we think about jobs, the way in which we think about what it takes to do that job successfully as well. In fact, as we see on the next page, it is no longer some of the assumptions which we had about things which have stayed true for a long period of time, right? All of us use this term called talent pyramid or the employee pyramid. What we are seeing and clearly seeing in the market out there is that that pyramid no longer remains a pyramid, right? We started seeing some of these changes because we started seeing clients realize that where the humans will have the most impact will be different in the AI world. For example, in IT services, and Sumit talked about this earlier, where there is requirement of more skilled and tenured talent, which can bring about context, domain, oversight. There you will start to see the mid layer increase in share and proportion, leading to something like maybe shaped like a diamond instead of a pyramid. If you see some BPO services, especially some high volume transaction services, we see today the mid layer was a lot more focused on basic reporting and analytics, right? Some of that is getting impacted and automated by AI. You'll still need entry level agents because there'll be a lot more exceptions which AI is not able to handle, but some of the middle layer gets shrunk there. I think the gist of this is it will differ for each service type. Some of these assumptions which we had around job descriptions, types of skills, trainings, hiring, or even pyramid. Uh, I think ways of the past will remain in the past, and we will have to change to a lot more of this future reality.
Prashant, we have one question on related to this from one of our attendees. Are we already seeing some of this on the ground, or this is something that is on in the plans?
Okay, uh, great question from the attendees. I think we somewhat saw this in the responses which you yourself shared some time back. How much changes have organizations already implemented? Uh, I think, honestly speaking, very few of them have actually made mass scale changes. A lot of our clients, at least in conversations, are aware about this. They're crafting a strategy around this, they're planning for this. So I'd say on ground, we see most of the leading organizations have a clear path ahead on what they want to achieve. Have the pyramids already started looking like this? Maybe not. Yes, in some of the latest contracts which we see service providers sign up for, yes, that traditional pyramid is changing to something which is midway between the future and current, though. Uh, though interestingly, on the next page, we do have some snapshots from news articles. If you could move to the next page, please. We're seeing some organizations change the way in how they're hiring. A lot of organizations are reducing the hiring of entry-level workers. Now, some of this we can say is being driven by demand because demand is slowing down. But a lot of this is also being driven by the fact that organizations are realizing what kind of talent will they need in the future? Will it be the same strategy as earlier? And we know that organizations used to hire tens of thousands of resources, especially if you look at the outsourcing companies. in geographies such as India and Philippines every year. Now, will that change from a scale-based model to something where now individual skill-based hiring is happening? Yes, we've started seeing organizations do some of that change. In fact, on the next page, and this is again, Gunjan, before you ask that question again, yes, this is not something which we are seeing on ground now. This is something which we see organizations head towards. Again, this is a selective example for only one type of technology services, but this is coming from work which we've done for a particular client. We are seeing clients rethink about that. Does this large scale offshore heavy model will that stay true in the future as well? And what this particular client realize is that given the specific type of work which they are doing, there'll be more shrinkage in some of their sites in locations like India, Philippines, Mexico, while some of their sites, which are North America based, uh, will largely stay the same. Again, we talked about this earlier, how even in the AI embedded workflows, there'll be more requirement of humans with business context, domain oversight. And this particular client felt that some of that work is more suited to the headcount, which they have in headquarters and source locations. But again, this picture will also be very different for each organization. It'll be very different for each function category. It will be very different from each skill category. So it's up to all of us to design a location strategy which is cognizant for all of these variables across different work types. With that, I think we are now towards the end of the webinar. So I'd say quite interesting takeaways. If you move to the next slide, please. Um, And I'll just do a quick wrap up of the considerations which we have on the next slide. We talked a lot about organizations planning and being ready for the future. I think it is very, very clear. It cannot be a wait and watch strategy. I know some of the organizations, I think 10% of the organizations had indicated that they are not planning any changes. Two-thirds of the organizations had said that they are making some changes or planning for it, but not yet implemented it. I think that's already a bit far behind. A lot of focus on organizations' AI strategy tends to be around the technology and how it impacts business outcomes. Without the right talent, without the right workforce, you won't be able to do any of that. So, adapting a location strategy for the AI ready future, making sure that we do away with some of the archaic notions which we had on how we hire, who we hire, what kind of job descriptions we have, what kind of pyramids we used to have. I think those need to go away. We need to go back to the drawing board, right from scratch, redesign some of this strategy. What is very clear is that organizations are not going to focus when they think about location strategy on scale, but more importantly on skill. And that's where we are seeing the anchor of global location strategy change. It'll be amiss if we don't talk about risks, whether that's concentration risks, regulatory risk, macroeconomic risk. Uh, every organization is becoming more aware in this new environment about the increasing risks which they are facing. So at the same time, when you're planning for AI-related changes, you're planning for demand-related changes, talent-related changes, your workforce strategy also needs to be risk-proof. You need to mitigate key risks, plan for BCP as well.
That's fair. And thank you so much, Prashant, for highlighting the key takeaways. I think these are very powerful key takeaways. But what we want for our attendees is that to again get on the next page is that this today's special offer, which is a one-on-one demo of Talent Genius, a lot of things that Prashant, Kunjan, even I talked about, you get via Talent Genius as well, which is our AI-powered insights platform for location and workforce decisions. So feel free to raise your requests. You must see the link in your chat window, and you can raise the request for a demo session with one of us. And with that, I think we have actually received a lot of questions. So I was just going through the questions in the back end and saw one very interesting question that came up. So let me start. I think the first question, which was, Prashant, you talked a lot about AI. The question was, what are the top locations for AI talent? And maybe I can start on this one, that when we talk to clients, top locations for AI talent, it's very important to break it into two categories. The first is on cutting edge AI research and model development side. Here you will see that the leading hubs, leading locations are like so San Francisco or the broader US ecosystem in general, Singapore, China primarily for the domestic market, London, parts of Germany, Canadian cities such as Toronto, Montreal. These are your basically your primary source markets where the advanced AI modeling work is being done. But there is another category that we need to look into, which is your AI transformation and enterprise adoption. Here, the story is different. Here, you will see that organizations are more focused and are leaning heavily on established technology hubs. India, for sure. In Europe, you have the likes of Poland, Romania being leveraged a lot. In Latin America, Mexico is there. Even the Philippines, for that matter, is getting leveraged for AI transformation, enterprise adoption. So these stand out as your key delivery markets. These are primarily the similar type of delivery markets that you would typically see for technology services. These locations bring the required scale, depth, and the ability to operationalize AI at speed, which is a very critical thing again for enterprise-wide transformation. In short, we see that the development work, the modeling work is concentrated in a few global R&D hubs, primarily your source markets, but the execution and scaling of AI adoption, these are anchored in your traditional tech services geographies. Okay, another question which I'm seeing on the screen is, and Pressure, maybe you want to take this one. We talked internally between India plus one strategy, and we hear many of the organizations think about this India plus one strategy in general for the large volume support work. What is this plus one location?
Okay. I think we talked a bit about in the concentration slide. So we talked about the high concentration in India. And yes, a lot of clients talk about the fact that they're completely aware about that high concentration, but which other locations can meet the scale talent needs at that very tempting price point, right? I think there's far greater recognition now that can't have too many eggs in one basket. Some of the changes which we are seeing, it's not just about concentration in terms of a disruption like a geopolitical event which happened a few months ago, which was India's you know, there was escalations on India's border, which could have gone to a full blown military war as well, which could have disrupted significant operations. But it's about we see some of the announcements around regulations, tariffs, visas, which might disproportionately impact one geography over the other. So I think it's a completely fair ask from many organizations on what is the plus one to India. So for a lot of organizations, simply speaking, that is the Philippines, because that is the second largest location after India, whether that comes for technology services or business process services. So a lot of organizations, it is Philippines, where they are planning to grow to de-risk from India. For some of the European organizations, that tends to be Central Eastern Europe. Poland is getting a bit crowded. We see higher market competition there. So there are so Poland still continues to grow though, but we are seeing some clients explore other locations in Central Eastern Europe as well. And in Latin America, I think Gunjan also talked about some of the countries across the world. Latin America, I think we see Mexico and a few other locations take this up. But primarily, if I have to give a short answer, it's Philippines, where we are seeing the India plus one strategy benefit.
No, this is quite helpful, Pressure. And with that, another question that comes is, you talked about Europe, and many of them are also asking questions around which are the best locations in nearshore US. Gunjan, I know you track many of these markets quite in detail. So the question is primarily, which are the best locations in nearshore US? That's the question. Do you want to take that up, please?
Sure, Samantha. I think Prashra did mention a bit about Mexico in the
Yeah.
Latin American market, but I would say there are a couple other locations apart from Mexico, definitely Mexico being the largest in the Latin American region, offering the talent scale, largest talent scale. Uh, for almost all higher maturity for almost all the functions, be it IT services, be it business process services or ER&D. Apart from that, I think Mexico is the only location that offers multiple city options as well. Apart from Mexico City, we have Guadalajara, Monterrey, Querétaro as well. Rest of the locations will be your Costa Rica, San Jose, then Colombia, Bogota majorly, but offering just one city option. But definitely these are also mature options providing support specifically for your bilingual business process services support. Apart from these, I'll say there are a couple moderate maturity locations which offer a moderate cost savings or a scale and are leveraged by organizations, which will be your Jamaica, Peru, Guatemala, seeing increased traction. But yeah.
I just wanted to add in that, Kunjan, recently, Prashant and I were in conversation with some of these very large BPO players out there in the market. Even the markets like Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, they are seeing quite increased traction. And Talent Genius platform that we are talking about, when you see the talent demand graphs and dashboards over there, we are seeing quite heightened traction in these markets. So again, something to watch out for in the Latin America market. But again, as you mentioned, not a high maturity or priority one locations, but something to keep an eye for. Uh, Prashya, I will come to you again with one question because I am getting this one specific question multiple times, and I think a very hot topic as well. How are the recent US policy changes affecting your employee location strategy? And by the way, received, and I'm just counting, I think 4 or 5 people have asked this question, if not more. I'm just scrolling through the screen, so it's please share your
Sure.
thoughts on this one.
So, burning question of the hour, right? So, yes. Well, to qualify it, I'd say there have been a lot of announcements around or likelihood of policy changes. Actual policy changes have not been as many. A couple of bills which have just been tabled, of course, the likelihood of them passing, it's dependent on that, what kind of impact they'll have, especially the Keep Call Centers in America Act or the Hire Act. Potentially, these are two bills which organizations have to watch out for. We've got amazing research material on these, so feel free to reach out to us in case you want a point of view on these. But these bills are currently just tabled, being discussed. Don't know what shape or form they'll take if they pass, when they pass. But potentially, these are two bills which will have a large scale impact because they kind of limit the extent of usage of global delivery of services and encourage employees to hire more in the US. But again, these bills are not live. This legislation is not live yet, so no actual impact right now. Many of our clients are preparing their strategy, just being aware about this in case this happens. Of course, there's going to be a mad scramble on the talent market. So how do they be better prepared? So again, as I said, we've got amazing content on this. So feel free to reach out to us. We can share that with you. There are a few other policy changes. Tariffs, for example, have not been imposed on services. It's largely limited to goods. So at least that for now is not something. I know a lot of clients had that question, that increased tariffs, especially on India. How would that impact global services? So that doesn't have material impact now, but who knows how these things might change. Then of late, I would say in the last couple of weeks, there have been significant changes already announced, and these are things which are live on, let's say, H-1B visas, increasing the fee for H-1B visas. Some of that might actually push more work to the global service delivery locations because there'll still be a requirement of that skilled talent. And if you can't get that to the US offices, companies might just increase hiring in global locations. So uh, I'd say there is uncertainty around how much and when some of these proposed changes may impact. So it's more a wait and watch there, which our clients are doing. But at the same time, being absolutely ready so that they have that strategy from day one in case required.
Thank you so much, Prashay. And yes, those thought leadership that you have written, quite promising. Means we were also reading through them. But yeah, thank you so much, Prashay, Kunjan. Thank you everyone for your time. Please reach out to us in case you have more questions. Our email coordinates are already listed on the screen, so feel free to reach out directly via email, and we'll be happy to respond to your questions. Thank you.